thank you very much for purchasing the Cymark Bike Parts R1300GS tail tidy. In this video I'm going to show you how to assemble the tail tidy and also fit it to your bike so that it ends up very similar to what we've got here. Now, before we go on with the assembly part of the video, you need to decide whether or not you're going to transfer your existing plates or indeed fit another plate to your number plate hanger. Now, most of us, I certainly did, I transferred my plates. So the first thing I've got to do is and this is the original hanger of course, is to remove the number plate fasteners which are on this part of the assembly, and you do that simply by using a screwdriver, get underneath these fasteners and pull them out like so. There's 4 in total. I've only pulled out 2. The 2 are already removed of course. And then what you need to do is to take this part, which is the number plate adapter plate, and insert the fasteners into the plate, making sure that the little tab on the inside of the circle lines up with the slot on the fastener. Now once you've got all 4 in, you can then mount it onto the hanger itself. Now, the hanger itself will come with some Scotch 3M VHB tape, and there will be some across here and some down here. Remove the protective coating and then you're ready to apply the plate, and you simply do this by lining up on the upper part of the plate these 2 parts with the 2 slots here and here, and it should fit in like that, and the top of the adapter plate should be in line with the top of the number plate hanger itself. And if we turn it around, we can see hopefully where the 2 upper fasteners are sitting in those 2 little cutouts. Once you've got it lined up, press firmly, and within a few minutes it'll bond and it'll be stuck. And you need to do that before we assemble the tail tidy. If of course you're not going to transfer your plate and you're going to use a smaller plate or a new plate, then all you've got to do really is drill your new plate to fit in with the slots on the part itself. So with that done, we can now move onto the bench assembly of the tail tidy itself. Okay, so now we're ready to look at assembling the tail tidy itself. Now the tools you'll need will be a Torx driver and a 10mm spanner. Now I've already pre-assembled the number plate hanger like shown. Now remember, yours, if you're using your existing number plate, will have this plate fitted, but it will have the 4 plastic fasteners off of the bike which I showed you previously to fit. So it will look something like this with these 4 fasteners in place. And what I've done there is I've taken the number plate bracket itself, which is this part here, and I've attached it to the number plate hanger here using the fasteners provided. Now there is one very important point: with the fastener pack you will receive a 6mm external tooth lock washer. Hopefully you can make that out. Now it's quite important that this lock washer goes in between this bracket and the bracket it's being bolted to. Now the reason for this is that once tightened up, it'll make sure that the number plate itself will not turn or swivel. So it's very important that you make sure that the external tooth washer is situated between this bracket and this bracket. and it goes right in the middle there and right in the middle there. Once you've tightened the fasteners up, as long as you've got an approximate 90-degree angle across this flat here and down against this face here, it will be absolutely fine when you come to fit it. You can adjust it once the tail tidy is in position, but if you've got an approximate 90-degree angle from this face to this face, you won't be far wrong. So with that done, the next job is to assemble the main part, and we do this by taking the strengthening plate and placing it underneath the main plate like so, and we take the indicator bracket, which is this part here, and we place it on top. Now it's very important that it's placed in this orientation so that you can see that the hole is pointing in that direction. If it's assembled like that, that's incorrect. When you come to fit the indicators, they'll be pointing in the wrong direction. So always make sure that this bracket is in that orientation. Then, taking the fasteners, attach the bracket to the main plate and through into the strengthening plate. And for now, just loosely do up the fasteners. It's a good idea to do that anyway, so that everything lays naturally before you start to tighten it up. So we've got to that stage. The next job will be to attach the number plate hanger, and that attaches onto the bottom of the assembly like so, and is held in place by using some more of the provided fasteners. So once again, no need to fully tighten, just fasten them up loosely for now, and then once it's all assembled, you can do the final tighten. Just making sure that it's all lined up properly, and once it is, taking the tools, I'll do the final tighten. Like so. With the kit, you'll also get a small rubber grommet. Now that's for putting into this hole here, like so. And the reason for that is that it gives you an option on the cable management when you transfer over the indicators and the rear and the number plate light. Now you don't have to use this, but if you do, all you have to do is put a slit through it the size of the plug which you need to push through, and then push the plug through and place the grommet in place like that. Personally, as you'll see later, I have my cables running over the top of this, but if you wish to run them underneath and through the grommet, that's what it's there for. Okay, so that's it assembled. We'll now go back to the bike and look at disconnecting and removing the original number plate hanger. So with the front and rear seat off, you're now looking to disconnect the original tail tidy. Now what you're looking for are 3 plugs and 3 sockets, 2 which feed the indicators and 1 which feeds the number plate illumination light. Now the indicator plugs look like this. I've marked L for left and R for right, and all you need to do is to pull up the tab and then just pull the plug clear of the socket. And again for the right hand one, and finally the number plate one, which I've marked with asterisks, you simply remove it from inside the the area underneath the seat and then pull it apart like that. With those three disconnected, you can now move forward to unfastening the original tail tidy and pulling it out the way. Wiring disconnected, you can now undo the 4 fasteners underneath the tail tidy and pull the original tail tidy away. Now if you turn it over, there's a further 2 fasteners, one there and one there, which you can remove, and that then will allow you to remove this top cover like so. I've already removed the indicators and the number plate light for speed, but all you have to do is simply undo the fastener there, take the indicator and turn it through 90 degrees and then pull it out, taking the cable with it, of course. Do the same for the other indicator, and on the number plate light all you've got to do is to remove this plate here, and that will give you access to the fastener there and the fastener there, which will then allow you to remove the number plate light, making sure that you take the cable through this square hole here without causing it any strain or catching it. Once you've removed the 2 indicators and the number plate illumination light, you've now finished with this, and you can put it to one side and move on to fitting the electrics to the Cymark tail tidy. So in this part of the video you can see that I've transferred the indicators from the original onto the Cymark tail tidy. Now here you have an option. You can either use the original fasteners, or you can use the Torx stainless steel ones that we've provided with the installation kit. It's entirely up to you. It's down to what you think might look better. So don't forget that you insert the plug first through the hole, and then you insert the indicator and then turn it through 90 degrees so it rests in this position, facing obviously to the rear of the bike. Do the same for the other indicator too, and then your next job will be to take the number plate illumination light and fit it to the plate on the tail tidy itself. Now you can use the original fasteners, there's one there and there's one there, and the square hole which you need to pass the plug through, we've provided you with a small ABS square that will fit quite nicely into there and just tidy it off. What I've done with mine, and what I recommend, is that you take a small blob of silicone and you place the silicone inside the hole and then place the little square firmly in there so that the silicone forms a bond and keeps it in place, and it tightens it up quite nicely. I've then used a couple of the provided tie wraps to fasten the cables there and there. Once again, you've got the option, you can go actually underneath the tail tidy and then come up through the grommet there if you should wish. In this case, I'm having the cables running along the top because I personally think that they look okay. With that now assembled to that stage, we're now ready to fit the tail tidy to the bike itself. Now you use the original 4 fasteners for this, but we do provide 2 ABS spacers in the kit, and you can see that I've already fitted them to the 2 of the larger fasteners here and here, and they will hold it in place whilst you line up the fasteners and attach them onto the bike itself. So we'll now get to the point where we are fitting the tail tidy onto the bike. Okay, so we're now in a position to fit the tail tidy to the bike. Now what I suggest you do is lay the tail tidy on the bike first and then pass the cables up through the hole and just leave them there for now. taking the tail tidy, you want to take the two fasteners which have the spacers fitted. Hopefully you can make that out. You can see the fastener and the spacer fitted there, and that acts as a spacer between the plate and the bike itself. And being careful not to trap any of the cables. Get the first two fasteners in place, and then start to screw them in. Not all the way in at this moment, but just so that it holds the tail tidy there. Then taking the remaining fasteners, put them into place like so. And then you can do the final tighten. Now, when you do the final tighten, just make sure that the cables are running safely and neatly into the back of the bike through that little gap, which you'll see when you look at the back of the bike itself. Sorry about that, butterfingers. Making sure that they're not snagged in any way. Now then, when it comes to tightening these four fasteners up, by all means Google the torque values for M8 and M6 fasteners, and if you can get yourself a torque wrench, then torque them up to the correct value. However, like most, if you haven't got a torque wrench, what I suggest is you tighten them up so that they're tight enough but not over tightened. I've also put a drop of thread lock on each of the fasteners to stop them from coming loose. So that's the tail tidying position located at the 4 location points, and I've checked that the cables on top are not trapped in any way, which they are not. So we can now move on to the reconnection. We've got the 3 cables coming through the hole in the back of the bike, and all we're simply going to do now is connect them back into their original sockets. Now with this one, it's the asterisk which slips onto there like that, and then we have the right hand indicator plugging into the right hand socket, and same again for the left hand plug and socket. Make sure you get them the right way around, by the way. And there we go. That's the cables reconnected, and all we've got to do then is tidy this rear area up, and then we can finish off back at the tail tidy itself. And finally, the last thing you need to do is to make sure that the number plate, which you angled earlier on in the installation, is either adjusted and or fully tightened at the 2 fastening points. Just make sure that it's very clear of the tyre, of course, and that if the tyre was to be under full load, or the suspension was to be compressed, that the bottom of your number plate would not contact with the tyre itself. About 90 degrees when assembling will give you this angle, which is absolutely fine. So that's the final check. Make sure that this is in the correct position and job done. Now, I've tried to make the video as quick and as accurate as I can. However, if there's any stage where you're not too sure, you can ring me or you can ring Mick on our numbers. We're available most of the day and most of the night, and we'll be happy to talk you through the installation. But it is straightforward. There's nothing difficult about it. Anybody with a little bit of basic DIY skills can do it. But once again, if you get stuck, don't hesitate to call. So, thanks for buying our product and enjoy it, ride safe, and bye for now.